Well, hello again. We were talking during the session this week about the possibility of doing a couple of videos, and so that's what we have. Going to look at two main areas, primarily the search. We're going to look at the advanced search and just how we built that up, and we'll also have a quick look at the saved searches as well, which is sort of relatively short but nevertheless relevant. The one we're going to focus on is essentially a lead search, or building up a lead search. This, of course, lead in LinkedIn's terminology means a people search, which is what we're going to do. So first of all, search bar within Navigator sits at the top here. However, if we go over to the right hand side and then search for leads, that's where I would suggest that we start the whole process. With this in mind, what we now have is a series of criteria. The criteria I'm going to apply is one that within a job title. I'm going to use the example that we had of Fleet Manager. As we look through all of the different aspects here, within the role and tenure, we have title. Title here means job title. In this instance, it defaults to the current job, but we have options. We can make it current past, as you can see, or current or past not current. We're going to keep it just for the current jobs in this instance. We also talked about the fact that if you type in the role that you're looking for, then underneath LinkedIn tries to second guess us. This is what they call guided search. We can therefore, if we want, choose Fleet Manager. If we choose Fleet Manager, this is the equivalent of essentially saying I want both fleet and manager in their current job title. What it doesn't mean is exactly that phrase, fleet manager, being the search results. So here we'll see there's about 48,000 results. If on the other hand I put fleet manager in as a sort of start of a Boolean search, I would put that in inverted commas. This now is being much more specific about the search, and if I just take out the original one, you should see the number of leads dropping. So in the top right hand corner we can always keep track of the type of information that we're pulling out of the system and the numbers that essentially our search is generating. So we can get a sort of feel, if you like, for what sort of things are working and which aren't. So one aspect that we could do is to use the Boolean search within the job title and actually build up a string of differing job titles, because essentially we are not looking for fleet managers, we are looking for the person who heads up that particular function within the organization, and that could be a whole range of different job titles. We're going to focus our attention on the word fleet rather than say transport, though that would be another option. And if we wanted to, then we might say that in fact they are going to be called head of fleet. Yeah, so we have got the word or in there. This is the an operator, as LinkedIn likes to call it, or indeed general Boolean search. Has to be in capitals on LinkedIn. If you use small lowercase rather, then it will look for the word or. It doesn't recognize it doing the job that we're looking for it to do. Just by way of reference, everything else within the search, however, is case insensitive, so I could put any mixture of upper and lower case. So here we now have Fleet Manager or Head of Fleet, and doesn't do a great deal to our search, which means probably that particular role is not one that's going to be sort of useful for us. However, we will put it back in, Head of Fleet. Or Fleet Director, which was another one that we were looking at. So that's brought it up just a little bit. Out of pure curiosity, just put an S in here, see if that does anything to the results. Head of Fleets, however, that does increase it. Now, does Fleets Director also increase it? 28643. No, that brings it down rather bizarrely. Okay, don't quite understand that. Yes, I do, of course, because we want Fleet Director in there as well. So by the looks of it, there are some jobs here which are not only using the word fleet, but also fleets. So therefore, just taking those out, we have 29,540. I'm just going to copy all of those, and I'm going to add all of those in, but this time with fleets. Okay, so there we go. So we've got 29,540. Rather bizarrely, it only takes up a little bit, but it does give us a few more to play with. And for me, that's important that we make sure that we have all of the different options in here. So this idea that we're trying to work with here is we are just trying to build up what they call a Boolean string. Now, this is all well and good, but it can be quite time consuming. We can, however, if we run that search, now save it. In other words, if we save this search, it will save the criteria that we have just built up. Perhaps because of the nature of what you're doing, we would also build in a geography element. Now here on the left hand side we have a list of all of the main types of filters that you're likely to use. If the one you want in particular is not here, then go down to the bottom, click on View All Filters, and you'll find that that brings us back to where we were previously. Within geography, I'm going to say actually let's just have the UK on that one. And now that brings it down to 2,478. Okay, so we now have a search that we can work with. Clicking on Save Search essentially allows us now to hold the information that we have. In other words, I could call this Fleet General UK. If I now save that, we can, as a default, have a weekly alert. But what I might like to do is I might say, well, actually, I'd like it on a daily basis. So now on a daily basis, LinkedIn will rerun that search for me. If it finds there's any new ones, then it will send those to me automatically. And as we see below, the one that we did during the session, there are 4 new ones. If I click on that, it now shows me the 4 people who did not, it seems, appear in the search the first time round, but would now do so, and hence we have stuff that we can start to work on, and it will continue to throw that at us, if you like. So the key elements, I guess, are the different aspects that we've just been looking at. We build up a Boolean search, we make it work for us, and slowly we can actually identify the types of roles that we want. Putting your own heads together, that would be useful as well. I'm going to throw one other aspect here. If you recall, we didn't in the end build a long search. What we did is we used a different Boolean function. We said fleet, and then we said, and alongside fleet, what I would like to have is the word head, for example in head of fleet, or manager, or director, or, and then we added in the American ones, VP or SVP. And we put brackets around that. So this is now asking the systems to say, right, do we have anyone who has the word fleet in their current job title and one of this particular list? As you can see, this now, I'm just going to take this one out, there we go, brings us a fair bit higher than we had before. And if we just bring that down to the UK, okay, we've got almost double what we had previously, because there are going to be combinations of the word fleet and manager, director, etc. that we didn't have. Hopefully a lot of them will be relevant. There will of course occasionally be ones that aren't. We also decided, albeit unilaterally over here, it could be fleet or fleets. Yeah. So now we have a much easier method, if you like, of building each of the different components up from the general word, and you could put transport in there, though that's like to open up a lot of stuff, and then the other function. Does that bring any more? 5453? Yes, 5483. So there's another 30 people who are head of, director, fleets director, etc. So I hope that that has clarified some of the points, that it has reminded you of some of the things we looked at in terms of the search, and ultimately that it gives you another resource that you can build on in order to find the people that you're interested in talking to. Thanks a lot, and happy hunting.